Hello everyone! Welcome back to my channel. My name is Krystle, just in case you are new here, and today I have an updated Stephen King collection for you guys. For the last year, since I filmed my last Stephen King collection, I have accumulated a lot more Stephen King books, and I wanted to do an updated Stephen King collection video for you guys, just so you know what I have in my collection. I do have some duplicates here because I like certain types of reprints of the book, or classic or first editions of special books that I really enjoyed. As a disclaimer, I don't care that I have multiples of the same book. I'm a book collector along with a book reader, and that doesn't matter to me. I find value in the things that I enjoy, and hauling books and buying books is something that I really enjoy. They say that there's two different habits. There's the reading habit and then there's the book buying habit. They're not the same thing, and it is so true for this scenario and for a lot of things. I think a lot of us booktubers really enjoy buying books, even though we can't keep up with reading all of them as we purchase them. But it is what it is. So I just wanted to get that out of the way before I get into the video. But I will be slightly repeating myself because I'm showing you all of the books in my collection. I did go back into the old video, and I just felt like I'd rather just run through all the books again that I have in my collection. And then we can kind of count together how many books I have of Stephen King. But without further ado, with my lovely Starbucks cold brew, because I know this is going to be a long video and I haven't filmed in a while, so hopefully the editing process is not that painful because it's been a while. But I'm happy to be back with one of my favorite videos to film, and one of my favorite people to talk about is Stephen King. Right now I have a stack of some really special editions to me. I love them so much, and they're right here in front of me. And these are the Halloween editions of Stephen King's books. These are, I wanted to say they're printed by Hodder Press, which is in the UK, so I don't think you can find them in the US. They are on Book Depository if they still have inventory for these left over. I don't know, like, they are special editions, so I don't know how much longer they're gonna have them in stock. But I do have here Rose Madder, which I enjoyed this book a lot. I tabbed the heck out of that, and I really enjoyed reading this copy of it because this hot pink is like my vibe. I just loved this book a lot. Really cool. And I like how there's quotes, like famous quotes of the books in the back of the book too, so really fun edition. So if you're looking to add to your collection, I definitely suggest these because the artwork on the cover is just beautiful, and they look great on the shelves, especially if you're someone who loves doing rainbow shelves. This is amazing for you to display. And then Bag of Bones, which is one of my favorite Stephen King books. The color combination for this one too is amazing, and in the back another quote. It's just really cool editions. Like I said, here's an edition of Krystle, which is so vintage looking, and this is probably going to be the edition that I do read when I read Krystle, because I'm planning on reading it this month in March. Hopefully. I have a few Stephen King books I'd like to get to this year, and this is definitely one of them. And then I have here The Shining, which is a well-loved favorite, and again, the color combinations for these are just so cool. And we have our quote in the back. Misery, beautiful edition as well. Just, I'm a sucker for neon, I think. I don't really know, like even the shirt too is like very vibrant. Love it. Stephen King Salem's Lot. Here's another one. This one feels a little different than the other ones. It's like a heavier like cardstock, but it's very similar. And then we have Carrie here, which was this is like so cool. This is like a rock and roll cover to me. Like, this is so cool, this cover. Probably the best cover of Carrie that I've seen. And then the back, the color combinations, the whole vibe of this picture just says what Carrie's all about. And then we have Cell, which again, I don't really enjoy this story, but the color combinations really cool. And this book came out like when cell phones were starting to become a thing, so you can only imagine where Stephen King's brain went with this. Very cool, like story, but it wasn't one of my favorites. That's it for the Halloween editions that I do own. I plan on purchasing more when I can, but just not right this second, if you know what I mean. So we're gonna get those out of the way, and now I'm gonna get into some of my paperback editions. My floppy paperback editions that I really enjoy. Now these are published in the US, these gallery editions, and I really love the way that they did them. I do love the covers. So this is Firestarter, and the color combinations for this is great too. And I just love how floppy these books are. Like, they're so floppy, and the font is pretty big. So they're like kind of they're like styled like mass paperbacks, but they're just slightly larger and easier to read. Love reading these. And then I have Everything's Eventual, which is a short story collection. And I would say if you're looking for a short story collection to start with Stephen King, I would go with this because there's some really spooky ones in here, but they're all really short stories. And they're really good for beginners, especially people that are looking to get into his work or looking to get into the horror genre, looking to get into short story fiction based on horror elements. This would be a great book for you to check out. I have so many of these, guys, by the way. Okay. Woo. So, Eyes of the Dragon. Haven't read this yet because I did not complete the Dark Tower series yet. I am currently on Wizard and Glass. So this I will read afterwards, but this does read as a standalone, but because I am in the process of reading the Dark Tower series, I don't want to spoil anything for myself. So I'm not going to read this yet. Gallery edition, really love it. I love the dragon on the castle, really cool. And then I have another edition of Krystle, the gallery edition, really cool edition as well. I love the car, On Fire. Can't wait to read this. I've seen the movie. Many years ago. Vaguely remember it because I was probably a kid. So I'm looking forward to reading this and then watching the movie. And I think they're picking this up as a movie again, remaking it, which would be amazing. Then I have Full Dark, No Stars. This one, again, I really enjoy this cover. This is a short story collection. I haven't really read anything from here yet, but I will say this is probably next on my list of his short story collections because I do really enjoy his short stories, and this is a rather short one too, and I've heard great things about the stories in here from the Losers Club podcast, which I listen to weekly. I mean, I really enjoy them. If you're a Stephen King fan and you want to nerd out once a week with a great podcast cast, check out the Losers Club, and you can pay for their Patreon and you'll get extra content every week too, which I do. It's like one of the only Patreons that I have religiously paid for because I just really enjoy their content, so check them out. And then I have here Thinner, which I have not read this one yet. I picked this up on my vacation. I picked it up at like a Pennsylvania bookstore, I think we were. I like to leave the little bookmarks in there. Where are we at? Doesn't even say where it was, but I got these bookmarks from there, somewhere in PA, like near like New Hope or something like that. But yes, Thinner is Thinner, I guess. This probably, I think this was supposed to be like a short story, and then he made it into a novel because it was quite long. So yeah, I'm looking forward to checking it out. I don't really know much about this one either. Pretty sure that there's a film adaptation for it as well that I've never seen. But let me know if you've seen it and you enjoyed it. I've heard many mixed things about Thinner, and that's why I haven't picked it up just yet. And then I have my glorious copy of It by Stephen King. Did I not tell you that this video is about Stephen King? Because I'm sorry if I keep saying so-and-so by Stephen King, because this is literally a Stephen King video, and I just keep saying by Stephen King, so, or I'm gonna keep saying it, but whatever. This was my favorite. This was my well-loved copy of It. This was the first copy that I read of It, and I just love this copy so much. This copy sits out on my bookshelf and stares at me every single day and just reminds me why I fell in love with Stephen King. And then I have here The Talisman. This is also collaborated with Peter Straub, who wrote Ghost Story and who was a very well-loved horror writer way back in the day, in the 90s, I will say. Hasn't really, I don't know if he's still alive or he's just not writing anymore because he might be too old to. I don't really know what the story is there. But yeah, I have yet to pick this up again because this does tie into the Dark Tower series, so I don't want to spoil myself or anything. I have read that I could pick this up halfway through, but I think I just want to breeze through the Dark Tower series and pick this up afterwards, so I don't spoil anything. I don't want to take the chance, you know what I mean? And then I have The Dark Half, and I really enjoyed this book. This was one of my favorite books that I read 2 years ago. This was just so amazing. And yeah, this book is about, it's really based on like Stephen King's life as a writer, and him just battling with his dark half. And he put it down on paper, and it's just this masterpiece. It's not a nonfiction book, so don't take it like that it is like about his life in that way, but you could tell how much of himself is in the main character, Thad Beaumont, and his dark half is George Stark. Yeah, this book was just so good, and I highly recommend it if you're looking for a book that will just grip you from page one of Stephen King's, because not a lot of his books do that. This one will grab you from the first page, and you will just want to keep reading it and reading it to find out what happens. It's definitely quite the thriller. There are a lot of horror content in here, but it's quite a thriller. And like I said, a lot of his books are a lot of character building, world building, things like that. So it does take you a little bit to get into most of his stories, but this one just really just does grab you. And then I have a favorite, and that is Lisey's Story. This is a beautiful edition of it. I love the silhouette of the woman, which would be Lisey. Just love the like colors, like it's almost like she's in the water or something like that. Like it's like a watercolor in the background. Really cool. Love this book. And this was the edition that I read when I first read it and loved it. So I will always hold on to this copy because that's how much I love it. And then I have here Skeleton Crew. This is a compilation of a lot of his short stories. I will say there's a lot in here, like 15 stories in here. So if you're looking for another short story collection, which is a lot of his short story collections are what he's known for. A lot of people really go towards his short story collections because he does a great job writing short stories. Visited a few in here. I haven't read a whole lot. There is one called Grandma, I think, in here. Grandma. And it scared the crap out of me. So I highly recommend reading that. Is it in here? Oh, maybe it's not in here. I'm thinking of the wrong one. But The Mist is in here. This is where The Mist originated, and then it was published separately and sold separately. Also have some more mass paper, well, not mass paperbacks, but these are floppy paperbacks. I have Salem's Lot in this really nice floppy edition. I loved reading this edition of Salem's Lot. It was really enjoyable, super floppy, and this is one of my favorite books. I'm wearing a t-shirt. I love this book so much. And it's a great vampire story. It's like Dracula Comes to America type vibes, and I'm all here for it. I try to reread it once a year around Halloween because, like I said, it's one of my favorite stories. And it's quite short. It's like one of his shorter ones, and it reads rather quickly. So highly recommend this if you're looking to start Stephen King journey. I recommend this, especially if you like vampires. Here he is. Isn't he great? Super scary. I have here this version of Carrie with my 50% off sticker. Nice, right? I have not read this edition. I just wanted it because I really liked the flower with the skull on it on the cover. And I love this picture of Stephen King in the back. So obviously I had to have it. I planned on reading Carrie, and I wanted an edition that was easy to take with me to shove in my pocketbook or my bag or whatever, that I wouldn't mind like getting destroyed. So, and then I have this huge edition of Under the Dome, which I still have not finished this. I DNF'd it, because I was very appalled by some of the content in here. There is trigger warnings for a lot of things, especially rape in here, and it was really getting to me. I also was reading it during like the early stages of the pandemic, and I think it was just kind of sending me into a mental spiral that I didn't want to be in, so I had to put it down. But I will revisit it. I have tabbed a whole lot of it in the beginning, so I'm going to try to finish it. It does end on Halloween, so I like, not that it's a Halloween book, but it leads up to Halloween, so I feel like it's a great book to read in the fall. So if you're looking for something that is very like fall atmosphere, this is one of the best books by Stephen King to pick up, besides all the trigger warning content. So do your research, look it up, and I'm warning you before picking up this book. I had to put a new battery in my camera because of course it died mid-filming, as always. Next book that I have here is Dr. Sleep, and I really like this cover because it says red rum, but backwards it's murder, and I just really enjoyed this, especially with like the cracks and stuff on it. This was a really good book. I will say I really enjoyed this book a lot. A lot of people don't like it, but I think it's a great sequel to The Shining. It's definitely very different writing style wise because Stephen King is sober writing Dr. Sleep, but it was definitely like a nice closeout to find out like what happened to Danny at the end of everything. Here first in the series, Mr. Mercedes. I have not started the series, but I would really like to because I want to get a little bit more familiar with Stephen King's favorite character to write, and that is Holly Gibney. This story, this whole series is like about her basically towards the end, so I'd like to know more about this and get into it. And then I have this beautiful copy of Pet Sematary with the scary looking cat and the yellow eyes and the cemetery in the background. I love this copy a lot. This is my well-loved copy. I've read it numerous times, tabbed it, and I will treasure it forever because this was just such a great copy. Then I have 11/22/63, which is another favorite Stephen King story. I just love this story so much. Takes a break from the horror content, this story, and brings us into something that is a little bit more time travel-esque and a lot more historical, but also there are horror elements in here, but it's a love story at the core of it all. I just love this story so much. There's so many great elements to it, and if you need a story to get lost into, even if you're not a history buff, like if you're not someone who's like into this history stuff, you will be after reading this. I promise you. So pick this up. If you need something that's light on the horror content but you want to read Stephen King, this is a nice chunker. It will keep you busy for a while, but you won't realize how quickly you'll blow through this book because it's something that you don't want to put down. You want to just keep reading it. Then next I have this Dolores Claiborne gallery copy. Haven't read this yet, plan on reading it very soon. Yeah, I'm excited to read this. I love the way Stephen King writes women, and a lot of, especially his main characters that are women. They are kick-ass, powerful, sometimes evil characters, and I really love the way he portrays women in his stories. Not all women, but like his main characters. So then I have here this copy of Revival, which was a book that I was supposed to read before the end of 2021, and I did not finish it. I wanted to read it because Midnight Mass was such like a big hit for me, and a lot of Mike Flanagan's influence was from this story. Mike Flanagan wanted to do a Revival movie, and I don't think it like went through properly, so I want to say that Midnight Mass is kind of his version of Revival in a way. Completely different stories apparently, but at the same time very similar. So I'm looking forward to reading this. I have this copy of The Mist, which is a very short novella. So if you're looking for something short to add to a readathon or something like that, something short to bring with you on, you know, a car trip somewhere, The Mist is a great story. I highly recommend it. Not too scary, but I think with everything going on in the world, it might be a little scarier than what it was for me when I read it. Next I have here The Dead Zone. This cover is so cool because this man is just like screaming internally, like it's just crazy. I read this book and I really enjoyed like the first 50% of this book, and then like the last 50% just became a little too political for me, which Stephen King has a habit of doing, and I just wasn't really feeling it. I wanted a little bit more of the psychic medium aspect. Wow, can you hear the wind? That like the dead zone part. I wanted a little bit more of that, and kind of just fell off halfway through for me. But this is a favorite book for a lot of people, I will say. So check it out, make your own assumptions. Don't just trust my opinion, because it's my opinion and this might end up being a favorite book for you. So check it out. And I have this beautiful version of Bag of Bones, which is the version that I read, and I really like this cover. People judge this cover really badly, but I really love the emotion of this cover. I love the color scheme of this cover, and I love this book itself because this was the book that I physically read when I fell in love with the story. I have here 4 Past Midnight, which is a huge bind up of 4 novellas. The Library Policeman is in here, and The Langoliers is in here, and I want to say Sundog was in here, right? Yes, The Langoliers, Secret Window, Secret Garden, The Library Policeman, and The Sundog are all in here. Library Policeman, fucked up story. Highly recommend it though. Let me know if you've read it or if you plan on reading it, and then let me know after you've read it your thoughts, because I really enjoyed it. It's fucked up, but I really enjoyed it. And I have here The Stand. Love this copy. Used this copy for plenty of book clubs that I was in over the years with BookTube and Goodreads and all of that. So this is a well-loved copy of The Stand. I have a few copies of The Stand, I think, or just one more copy. I have one more copy of The Stand. This is a classic. Love this story. It's about a pandemic, a super flu that sweeps out 99% of the population, and people gotta survive like it's The Walking Dead. So if that doesn't make you want to read The Stand, I don't know what will. But there is tie-ins to the Dark Tower series with this book, which I know already. It's not really spoilers, but at the same time, I think once I finish the Dark Tower series, I'm going to really appreciate this a whole lot more and probably want to pick it up again for like the 5th time. Alright, so we're going to start with the Dark Tower series that I have here. I don't have all of the books here because I put a few of them into storage. So I have The Wastelands, which I loved this book. This is the 3rd book in the Dark Tower series. Really loved it. I had a tough time reading The Gunslinger. Rightfully so. I think a lot of people have a tough time reading it. But then you get to book 2, which is The Drawing of 3. And things get weird and crazy, and I just wanted to read more. Then I got to The Wastelands, and things got even weirder and crazier. And it's just like a work of art, this series. So that's my view by the 3rd book, especially by the end. So now I'm currently reading Wizard and Glass, and this is just taking it up a whole nother notch to where like I don't even want to like rush through this book at all. I've been reading it for quite a while, but every time I pick it up, it's such a treat. It's like a fantasy horror adventure dessert for me that I don't want to finish this. I'm really loving this series so much. So I'm looking forward to getting to the other books. I do have these new editions because I wasn't really into the Dark Tower series at all many years ago. I was just like, I'm never gonna read that. It's not for me. Like, I don't want to get into another fantasy series. And boy, would I have been missing out, because this series ties in almost all of his books in a way. Then I have this copy of Wizard and Glass that I picked up at a used bookstore on a vacation somewhere. Found it, loved it. It does have illustrations in it, really creepy ones. That might be a little spoilery, but if you've read Wizard and Glass, you know. So I needed to have that edition. I was gonna unhaul it. I was gonna sell it. And then I'm like, I'm gonna keep my damn books. Okay, so Wolves of the Kala is the next book in the series that I need to get to, and then Song of Susanna, and I believe The Dark Tower is the last one, which I don't own yet. I wanted to purchase it when I got to it. I felt like it would be like a really exciting treat for me to reward myself with. Here, this is another edition of It. This is a UK edition, and I really liked it because it's so simple, but you could see the balloons down here, which I thought was so cool. Great copy to carry with you. Like, it's such a compact edition of It. Like, as thick as it is, it's very easy to hold, very easy to read, very easy to take with you, throw in your purse or your backpack or something like that. So if you're looking for like a compact edition of some of Stephen King's books, check out the hotter editions that are on Book Depository right now, because they are pretty compact. And I hate to say this, but I feel like UK editions are printed better quality. And then I have this edition of Gerald's Game, which is a book I still have not read yet. Planning to read it. Does tie into the Dark Tower series. Seen the movie, really creepy, and that ending, damn. I have here Cycle of the Werewolf, which is Stephen King's like first like graphic novel style. Like, there's pictures in it, and it goes through the seasons, and it's literally like the cycle of the werewolf through the seasons. It's pretty bloody, pretty good story. Great to pick up during Halloween, so if you need like a quick read to get you in the mood for spooky season, I highly recommend this. I've picked it up for some readathons around that time, and I thought it was like perfect for that because it is quite short and it is a Stephen King. And then I have these editions, the mystery editions, right? They're hard case crime editions of his books. So we have here The Colorado Kid. Then we have Later, which I really loved this book. I read this in last year, 2021, when it came out. Really love this story, highly recommend. It blends like modern day crime with the supernatural, and I just thought it was the coolest thing. Like everything else, I am of the lesser majority with loving this book. If you're anything like me and you like the same books as I do, then you will like this. I have Joyland, which is about a creepy funhouse carnival. Highly recommend. Really love the story as well. I'd like to get into like my little like mass paperbacks that I have, which is a small amount. I have The Girl Who Loved Tom Gordon, which was a favorite book of mine. I read this during the pandemic. I read it, I think, in one sitting. I really enjoyed this book so much. It is written like a YA book, but it's about a girl who gets lost in the woods, and the only thing getting her through being separated from her family and being missing is listening to the baseball player Tom Gordon play baseball on her radio headset. And it's like a story of survival, coming of age, and creepiness. I have Night Shift here, which is a favorite short story collection. I really enjoy these. Pick this up for spooky season. They're the best short stories to read during Halloween. I promise you, you will not be disappointed if you pick up this short story collection. I just love almost every single one of these stories. Is so good. And a lot of these stories were picked up for Creepshow, the TV show on Hulu. If you're interested in like watching like an adaptation of it, Creepshow is like a Stephen King short story collection, and it's also forgot who else is on there. Oh my goodness, it's slipping my mind. But it's on Hulu and it's inspired by Stephen King's story, so check it out. The next I have here, The Bizarre Bad Dreams. This is like my favorite cover, I think. Like, literally favorite cover. Still haven't read it, but favorite cover. And I did have the hardback edition of this, and I unhauled it years ago, and I'm really sorry that I did, because this picture, like that much bigger, is gorgeous. And you know me, I love my butterflies, so this is my favorite cover art that Stephen King has out. Then I have Needful Things. Love this story. Great story. And this is a story about basically the good and evil in people and what people will do and what lengths people will go out of selfishness and need. It's really good. And then I have these like hotter editions, like the rainbow editions. This is Lacey's story, again with the butterfly. Love that. This is the white spine for this. I love this copy. I found that on eBay. Then I have here Pet Sematary, and this has like a hot pink spine. The last reread of Pet Sematary, I did read this book. And then I have here Dreamcatcher, which is like a berry spine, really pretty. And we have the feathers in the background. I got really lucky with these, but I wish I could have collected a little bit more of them, because I feel like I have no use for them really, you know? And then I have this edition of Salem's Lot, which I'll never get rid of because this neon green is life. And this has a white spine as well. I just love this edition. And one of my most liked photos on Instagram is that book. So go check out my Instagram if you haven't already. I took a sick ass picture of this in the fall time, and the lighting was perfect, and just one of my favorite photos I ever have taken of books. And then I have here The Long Walk, which is a book that I plan on reading this summer. It's one of his shorter books, but I heard it's a great book and it's a lot of people's favorite. So looking forward to this. It seems pretty painful, so that's why I've been kind of avoiding it, because it just sounds like a torturous, heart-wrenching, heart-palpitating story. But I can't wait to find out for myself. And then next I have my hardcovers, which include first edition. Starting off with this oldie but a goodie. This is the first edition of Cujo by Stephen King. I really tried my hardest not to do that. This also has my favorite like author photo of him, because holy 70s, man, you are a grizzly boy. Grizzly man, I'm sorry. Grizzly man. I still have not read Cujo. I have like this fear that it's going to really tug on my heartstrings, because I'm obsessed with my dog, and I just feel like this is going to make me very sad because of how much I love dogs and my dog. So I keep putting it off, but I just have to pick it up this year. Then next I have this edition of Doohickey, and it's almost like Pretty Perfect, which this is one of his newer books, so I would expect it to be almost perfect edition. Justin got me this as a gift, and I loved it so much. I did enjoy this story, not as much as I thought, but I just love the cover of this with all of the details. It's just so pretty. And I love the beach. It makes me want to go to the beach. Not this beach. The beach. And then I have here two books that go together, and we have Desperation and The Regulators, and their pictures kind of like coincide with each other, or at least they're supposed to, I think. I don't really know. But like if you see, like here's the cover of The Regulators, and then if you look through like the keyhole in the back, it's the cover of Desperation. So I think this is kind of when Stephen King came out of the author closet and basically told everyone that he's Richard Bachman. I have here, this is a first edition of If It Bleeds. Not that it's a classic or anything just yet, but it is a first edition. I did pre-order this book. Haven't really read much of this, to be honest with you. I have a lot more things on the docket to read Stephen King wise before I really pick this one up. And a lot of the stories, well, there's only 4 stories in here. The 4 stories in here reflect some of his past work, so I want to be a little bit more familiar with his past work before I pick this up. And then I have here Stephen King's Salem's Lot. Here we go again, saying Stephen King, because this is not a Stephen King video. And I love that it has his signature right here. This hard copy is pretty cool. Haven't read this hard copy, but I just like the detail on it. I love the angel in the back and the haunted house with the guy at the bottom here being all scary with the eye. Very cool edition. Do I think it was worth $40? No, but I got it for way cheaper than that. I have a first edition of The Outsider here, which I did enjoy this story. It's not a lot of people's favorites, but I really did enjoy it. It's different than most of his work, and he's kind of been heading into this procedural way of writing. He likes to write a little bit more like crime-based fiction with horror elements, so this had a lot of that in it, and I liked it. I liked the blend of supernatural with modern day crime. Then we have here one of my favorites, The Institute. This was a fun story. This is about like it's very like Stranger Things 11-esque. Like, it has a lot to do with like these kids that are like being test subjects at this institute because they have these special powers, and yeah, and then they just start running because they find out that these things are happening to them that shouldn't be. So I definitely suggest picking this up. It's light on the horror content. It's definitely more of a thriller, Stranger Things feel to it. So check it out. It's more of like sci-fi-ish type book. Then I have this huge bind up with the silver plated edges, and this is Salem's Lot, Carrie, and The Shining all in one. This is a Barnes & Noble edition. If you're looking for like a fun bind up or a gift to give to somebody, I suggest this copy. It's amazing, and I love the end papers. I have not read, you know, the pages crack. I haven't read from here yet, but I do plan on it. It's just so heavy. And then I have this Barnes & Noble edition of The Stand. When I saw this, I was in awe. It's beautiful. I love the colors, and I love the crow in the back. It's so cool. And the spine, so cool. Highly suggested. It's a beautiful book for a collector. The end papers, like, whoa. Come on, guys. Come on, guys. We've all coming out of a pandemic right now, so if you haven't read The Stand, please pick it up. Believe it or not, it's quite relatable, but like not to like the extent, but you could get the, like, if you start reading it, you'll feel what the characters are feeling. You felt it. My bed looks like a mess right now. I'm just gonna show you guys. This is a Stephen King pile up right now, and a blow dryer. Oh boy, a lot of books, a lot of books. We're getting to the end. So I have a first edition, Gerald's Game. Again, a nice author photo of the king himself in the back. Really was lucky to find this edition at a used bookstore in Pennsylvania, and the person who sold the book wrote a little tiny note in it, and it says, if you watched on Netflix, you know how creepy this book is, but you need to read the book to understand the sex. Don't really know why, but this is a 1992 first edition of Gerald's Game, and I need to get some library like cellophane on this thing before things start happening to it. Then I have a first edition of Billy Summers, right, because it just came out. Haven't read this yet, plan on reading it very soon. A lot of people loved it, and that's all I really know. I know it's, you know, it's kind of like a love story, but it's also crime, like what he's been writing recently, and it's about like a detective who, like, it's a hitman? I don't really know, but let me know if you enjoyed Billy Summers. I have this lovely first edition of Pet Sematary, which I'm just so in love with, and I'm so happy I got my hands on this. And yeah, and it had deckled edges, at one point, but my goodness, this is my favorite Stephen King story, like #1. And then Bag of Bones is second. And originally Bag of Bones was 1, but then when I did my reread this year of it, I'm just like, damn, this book is just so dang good. It needs to be #1. And then my final 4 books, I have first editions that I found recently the other day while I was doing a wedding. I do hair for a living, and I was doing a wedding in the middle of nowhere, and there was this adorable bookshop that I saw on my way to the event, and it was called the Book Garden. And I was like, I need to go there on my way back. So finish up the wedding, exhausted, but I still stopped into this bookstore, and boy, did I find gold. And not for nothing, the sweetest people run that place, so I will be back. And they have books from many years ago. Like there's really not one new book in there. I'm gonna bring some new books for them, but I found gold. So I got this beautiful first edition of Dolores Claiborne, which is in like a very nice quality edition, deckled pages, and I just love like how it has like the moon phases here, and I love the author photo. So I'm really excited to get my hands on this. I wanted to buy the whole stack of King books there, but I just got the ones that I felt were the most important and in the best condition. This is Nightmares and Dreamscapes. This is my favorite cover of Nightmares and Dreamscapes. I love the scarecrow on here with the moon in the background. Ooh, this cover is just so cool. And we got the author photo. Yeah, I love it. And it says Castle Rock Rockets on the shirt of the scarecrow. So yes, so happy that I got my hands on that. And then I have here a first edition of Needful Things. Now this one needs a little bit of some tender love because the spine is slightly broken. So I'm going to fix that up myself. Get on that and clean it up a bit. But I was so happy to find this, like so happy. And look at that cover. I'm so happy that the dust jackets on these were in really healthy shape, really healthy shape. And then finally I have the hardcover of Lisey's story, which I've been wanting and having trouble finding and not wanting to pay so much money. This was $10. This is a first edition, and I just love this cover. Like, the dust jacket is not needed at all. Look at this. Oh my gosh, it's gorgeous. Best looking book I've ever seen. So I think that's it. I think I got all the books. This is going to be a rather long video, but these are all of the Stephen King books that I own, and not unhauling any of them. I'm keeping my double editions of these books. Plan on collecting more as the years go on. It is just something that I really enjoy, and I just have a lot of books to read and a lot of books to put away right now. I'm like looking at them and it's like, oh my god, where am I putting these? That is it for my updated version of my Stephen King collection. I hope you guys saw some things that you liked in this video. Let me know what more content on Stephen King that you want to see from me in the comments down below. I am going to try to do a little bit more reviews on his books as I read his books as time goes on. This is going to be a very long video, and I appreciate you all sticking around, watching the entire thing with me, and let me know what your favorite Stephen King book is and what you are planning on reading in the future by Stephen King down in the comments down below. I'm so excited for Fairy Tale to come out in September, but it does tie in to the Dark Tower series. So everyone who's planning on reading Fairy Tale, get yourselves on the Dark Tower bandwagon right now, because you need to be prepared for this book that's coming out very soon. So on that note, if you like this video and you want to see more Stephen King content, and book content from me, please just like and subscribe down below. And yeah, I'll be talking to you guys soon with another video. Bye!